Hi, so I have written my persuasive speech on the funding and resources for teachers in the public school system. So that was my problem. The cause is money is being spent elsewhere in the recession, and the solution is allowing teachers access to more funds and better resources. This is my audience, Louis Samuels. He's going to listen while I try to persuade him. So my specific purpose is I want to persuade my audience that school funding is important and low school funding has negative outcomes on teachers and students. My central idea is that you can avoid negative outcomes from schools by providing adequate funds. So this last year and a half, I've worked as a substitute teacher. I worked full-time and now I work part-time as a substitute teacher. I've seen the results of lack in funding, and the lack of funding and resources in school has resulted in a lower number of employees, which increases the number for subs, but it also results in a poor student environment and a lot of other things. During one of my days, actually as a sub, I got to a classroom and the teacher was unable to leave lesson plans for me because she couldn't make copies due to the fact that she had used her allotted amount of copy paper for the year. So because of the cuts in funds for the teachers, they were only given a certain amount of copy paper. Most states cut school funding after the recession hit. Teachers' funding and resources were cut drastically, and most states are still spending less on students in schools than they were in 2008. Cuts in funding have led to lower income for teachers and staff, which ultimately leads to a decrease in the number of teachers in schools. The teachers aren't making enough money to support themselves and their families, which results in them needing to find other jobs, resulting in a decrease in teachers in the school system. In 2008, the pupil-to-teacher ratio was 15-1. In 2012, it jumped up to 21-1, which means that teachers went from having 15 students to 21 students, which is a significant increase, which is resulting from there being less teachers in the school systems working today. Cuts in funding also affect the classroom. There's less class materials, technology is not available, such as iPads in the classroom, computer labs in the schools. They also don't have access to the out-of-classroom experiences, such as field trips, arts, sports teams, things like that, and other resources inside the classroom too. Funding can be restored by attending your children's school functions and donating to school events. Parents can also help with the funding cuts by sending in extra school supplies. At the beginning of the year, middle of the year, I know that some teachers will send out notices if they're running low on things because they don't have the funds to replenish those supplies that the students use every day. So they count on parents to support them as well. Things that parents could donate, such as Kleenex, pencils, markers, glue, but sending in not just one for their own child or two for their own child, but sending in 6 boxes of Kleenex so that there's 4 to hang on to for when they run out of Kleenex. Or extra markers for the kids whose parents can't afford to send markers in the first place, preventing the teachers from paying out of pocket, but also increasing the funds that are coming into the school, through the parents at least. Increasing the financial support can help K-12 schools implement proven reforms, such as hiring and retaining excellent teachers. When there's no money going into schools, it makes the school undesirable to work at for a lot of teachers, which also decreases teachers wanting to stay at their positions. More money would help reduce class sizes because there'd be more teachers to be teaching, and it would also expand the availability of high-quality early education through things such as iPads, out-of-classroom experiences, things along those lines. And although we can't firsthand increase the financial support to the schools, we can do smaller acts, as I've mentioned earlier. So I encourage you to make these small changes because the small changes add up and eventually lead to big changes. You can improve the school systems and enhance the students' learning experiences. Wouldn't you want your student to have access to adequate resources in their schools?